Hey everyone, Renee here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of March. So I realized that I've never done a wrap up on my channel or like a recent reads or things like that. And I feel like most of that logic in my head is just because I do talk about a lot of books throughout the month. But I thought it would be nice to kind of compile it all in one video and just give you my honest thoughts on the books that I have read this past month. I'm not going to do like the previous months for the year, that would just be too long. So maybe starting now, I will go ahead and start incorporating monthly wrap-ups until I get tired of doing them. So yeah, without further ado, we're just gonna get into it and talk about some books. So for the month of March, I read all these bad boys. So there are 4 novels, 1 graphic novel, and 2 manga. I'm just gonna start at the top of the stack and talk about the manga that I read this month, which is volumes 2 and 3 of Waiting for Spring. This is a series I just recently started because it just sounded really cute. I was very interested. I love the basketball element to it, as I am a basketball fan in real life. I will say volume 3, I rated 3 out of 5 stars. It's the first one that I rated that low, which I guess, like, I feel like 3 stars isn't a bad rating. It's an average rating, and that's kind of how I felt about this volume in particular. It was very average. It was kind of boring, and it was just okay. Like, I understand the need for it. It did connect a couple things. I did like the first 2 volumes better, but I'm hoping the rest of the series kind of picks up a little bit because I am still really enjoying it. I think it is very, very cute. I really like the characters, and I'm just having a good time with it. And if you don't know what Waiting for Spring is about, it is about a girl who becomes friends with the basketball team at her high school, and obviously there's like a little romance involved, and there's also a little love triangle that's kind of blossoming. That's interesting to see. Our main character's friend in the book is crazy, like crazy, but I love her. Like, every time I see a clip of her, I just laugh, and I think that's just so great. Like, when you read something and you just can't help but laugh, it's just awesome. So I'm really excited to see where these characters go, how they develop, and all of that good stuff. So these are 2 that I read, and then I'm also going to just talk quickly about the graphic novel that I read, which isn't really a graphic novel, it's like a comic book collection, and that is the House of M Complete Collection. So it has the main 8 volumes. So House of M is a series in Marvel, and there's many more. It's not just this. There's a bunch of different like individual comics, side stories, all that good stuff, but this was the core collection I decided to get, and House of M centers very strongly around Wanda, who is the Scarlet Witch, and if you know me, you know I absolutely love her. I love her so, so much. When WandaVision finished, I needed something to fill the gap, and I hadn't actually read any of the House of M yet, so I got this, and it was amazing. I love it. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about this. I don't want to like say too much that spoils it, but it's just, it all centers around Wanda and her mental break, like a complete breakdown. She's completely unstable and she just flies off. I have some other House of M comics. I have 3 Mutopia volumes that I haven't read yet, so maybe I will read these next. But I don't even have the first one. I have 2, 3, and 4 out of 5. I don't have 1 and I don't have 5. So maybe once I find the other volumes, I'll start the Mutopia series of the House of M and see. Next, moving into the novels that I read, there are 4 here to talk about. And the first one is The Girls Are Also Nice Here by Lori Elizabeth Flynn. This is the first book that I read in the month of March, and it was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. And I feel like it delivered. It wasn't a 5-star. I think I rated this 4 out of 5, but it was a fun ride. It was really intriguing. I love how it jumped back and forth in time. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hold on. Let me tell you what it's about so you understand. So this book follows our main character, Ambrosia, who, along with her previous best friend, Sully, were invited to their 10-year college reunion, and someone has been sending them messages and essentially trying to get revenge on something that they did back in college. And it is only told in one perspective. It's told in the perspective of Ambrosia, and it flips between times. So it goes from now, where she's older and she's kind of going through the mystery and trying to figure out like who is sending her these messages and who is doing this to her. And then it goes back to the then, which is her in college, and it pretty much goes through like what she did in college, you know, how her experience went, her relationship with her best friend, and all of this stuff. I thought that the author did a really good job in pacing. I think that she did a really good job in keeping the mystery going. So for me, there's a criteria of a good thriller, and that is it not being predictable. If I'm a quarter to a halfway through the book and I'm already completely following along and like suspecting what's gonna happen, then it automatically loses points for me, because then it becomes boring. But this book, I got halfway through and I was still confused. And I felt like right when I had something figured out, it just wasn't it. And I was like, what? So I really did enjoy that aspect of this book. I like that it kept me guessing. And it does have like this mean girl type of vibe. Obviously the title is The Girls Are Also Nice Here, but it does have that realistic viewpoint of how catty girls can really be. And I kind of like that. There's a lot of relatability factors in here. There's a lot of, you know, our main character back in college, you know, she's just trying to find herself. She's trying to fit in. She's trying to kind of reinvent herself, and she kind of gets lost along the way of just losing who she is altogether. And I think that that is just such a relatable thing for a lot of people as they get older. You know, identity crises, they're real. They happen. I have them often. So I don't know. I don't want to ramble too much about this, but I really did enjoy this book. 4 out of 5 stars. I would definitely recommend it if you're a fan of thrillers. Then the next book that I finished in the month of March was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This is a romance book. This is my second Colleen Hoover book, and I rated it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was very average, but it was a very quick read. It was very quick and easy to read. It flips between perspectives of both of our main characters, our female lead and our male lead. The relationship in here is definitely more of a toxic one, at least for a lot of the book. And it's not even like an enemy to lover, hate to lover, anything like that. It's like a no strings attached type of relationship that both parties know, like going into it, that like they like each other, but they're not gonna like strap it down. But it does just get very toxic. I feel like a lot of no strings attached can easily get toxic, especially when one person gets feelings. And the main character is the lovely damaged goods trope. You know, he's got a tragic background. He's just got a lot of baggage and more of a tragic story about his past. And he's like broody, and I usually love that. But the main male character in here just got on my nerves. I mean, I liked him towards the end. I completely understand in a way of why he was how he was, but also it was just annoying. Like I felt like it just got dragged on too long. I was like, I get it. I've got it already. Please just get over it. You know, it's one of those things where I kind of just got annoyed. But something that I did really enjoy is that when it shifts perspectives, so the girl's perspective is written regularly, and then when it switches to Miles' perspective, who's the guy, it is written almost in verse. It's like reading a poem, like the whole chapter. And I did think that that was very interesting to read, and it did make it a very quick read too, because you just breezed through it. So yeah, it's very average, very toxic, has a nice payoff at the end, I will say, but I don't know, it's not my favorite. Then the next book that I finished is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This book was so good. This was my second 5-star novel of the year. 5 out of 5. Loved it. Will scream about it to the sun. And to be honest, I don't even think that I expected to love it as much as I did. I only read it because everybody else was. And this book was so hyped. I heard about this book around every corner I went. Like, I couldn't avoid seeing this book, hearing this book. Everyone, like, you know. So I read it for the hype, just to see, to form my own opinion. and my opinion is that it's amazing. I loved everything about this book. I loved the characters, especially my queen, Poppy. Oh my god. Like, I haven't felt this strongly about a female lead since I read The Cruel Prince and fell in love with Jude. But I love Poppy. She is so badass, and I just cannot wait to see how her character develops in the next two, because you better believe that I'm going to be reading them this month. I love when the male and female leads like have that romantic connection, but there's like a lot of banter. But aside from the characters and the romance, which were great, I did really like the pacing. I never got bored, which I was super happy about, because someone told me this was slow burn and it's really thick, and my attention span just doesn't really grasp that well. But I wasn't bored. I flew through this book. I actually read this book for a 24-hour readathon. I read the whole book. And I never once was bored. I was always intrigued. There was a lot of world building that I was kind of confused on for a while, but you know, you just gotta keep pushing through and eventually it'll make sense. I feel like that with a lot of fantasy books. Like, if you don't get it, just move on. Eventually you'll get it, and then if you're still confused, maybe go back. I'm definitely the type of person to push forward before I go back if I don't understand something. And I love the vampire element. It's definitely different than I thought it would be. I've been really into vampy stuff lately. It's like vampires have been making a comeback and I'm here for it. Honestly, it has me rewatching Vampire Diaries. Like, who am I? I couldn't even make it past the first season of Vampire Diaries. Like, I've tried twice and I could never get into that show, but now suddenly I'm invested. Anyway, that was a tangent. So this book, if you don't know, follows Poppy, who is the maiden. So she is chosen by the gods, and she can never be like intimate with anybody. She can never be touched. She has to stay pure. And then we also have our main character, our main male character in this book, Hawk, who is one of the royal guards who is set to protect her. And as you're delving into her story and like seeing how she is, there's also this really intricate world building going on about what is going on outside the kingdom. There's vampires that are running amok, that are threatening people, and there's a fallen kingdom that is on the rise that pretty much threatens the order of things. It is just so fascinating how this world has been built. And the thing with Poppy is, even though she's a maiden and she's supposed to be like this really pure, demure, like innocent, easygoing, just little thing for the gods, she actually is a badass, and she knows how to fight. She knows how to use a dagger. She has these special gifts that she uses to help people, and she's just so selfless, so badass, so amazing, and funny. She's funny, and her relationship with Hawk is funny. I love their banter once again, and we stan. We stan a queen, we stan a strong queen, and I'm so excited to see where this goes. Yes, I'm gonna stop rambling because I've said so much. I could literally go on and on about this book, but I won't, because I'm not trying to make this whole video about From Blood and Ash, but it is amazing, worth the hype. Definitely read if you like fantasy romance and vampires. Then the last book that I read in March was Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a book that was kind of hard for me to read. I literally found myself gagging throughout this book. Like, literally, I'm gonna reenact. Oh my god. That is a reaction that I had a lot reading this book, and it's not because the book was bad, and it's not because I hated it. It's just because the content in this book is heavy, and you will probably feel grossed out at times. You will probably feel very angry at times, but regardless of that factor, it is, in my opinion, such an important read, and it was a very good book. And if you don't know what it's about, it follows our main character, Enchanted, who is an aspiring singer. And she gets discovered by this really popular music producer named Corey Fields. And he is a sack of shit, to say the least. And he is just disgusting. And he just takes complete advantage of Enchanted. And it really goes into a lot of different triggers. So there's trigger warnings for pedophilia, for rape, for assault, for grooming. There's also aspects of racism in this book that is definitely talked about. So definitely keep that stuff in mind going into this. Read this if you're prepared for it and in the right headspace. At the end of the day, it is an amazing book. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. And also, this is based off the accusations of R. Kelly. So if you know about R. Kelly and you're grossed out by what he did, just keep that in mind going into this book, because it's gonna be it. And I love how at the end of the book, it just says mute motherfucking R. Kelly, mutekelly.org. My camera just shut off the video, which is rude, but I guess that's my camera's way of telling me that I've been talking too much and I need to wrap this up. So to wrap up my spiel on Grown, this was amazing. I love Tiffany D. Jackson. I can't wait to read more books by her. She really knows how to pack a punch, and yeah. So that is pretty much all of the books that I have to talk about. I think that I had a great month of reading in March. My February was pretty lackluster and I didn't get a lot done, so even though I did not finish my TBR for March, I'm still very happy with what I read, and I had a good month. Like, I enjoyed every book that I read, so that's good enough for me, and I can't wait for the rest of the books that I have planned for April, May, moving on through the year. I'm just loving reading. I've been having such a great time. I'm very excited about the books that I have on my TBR. I'm very excited about my YouTube channel. I'm having so much fun, and it's just really been a joy, like a big light this year. So thank you for also following along with me. So if you liked this video, please feel free to hit that like button down below to help support this channel and help me grow. And if you'd like to follow me on my reading journey and keep up with what I'm doing, don't forget to also subscribe and come along with me. I'm very excited for what's to come, and I'd love to have you on my side as I go through this journey of YouTube. And my socials will also be linked down below as well if you'd like to keep up with me outside of YouTube, see my cosplay, all of that good stuff. You can find it on my Instagram and my Twitter. All will be down below. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.